Hello, my name is Kimberly Woolfolk, and I'm the Read 180 teacher here at Monroe Elementary School. Today, I would like to discuss with you essential question number 7, instructional technology. Here at Monroe Elementary School, we are a one-to-one device school in grades 4 through 6. And since all of my students are 5th and 6th graders, they all have access to a Chromebook computer. So, with regards to the use of technology, my philosophy is this: that in order to integrate technology into my instructional practices, I must do it in a thoughtful and purposeful manner. In order to make sure that I'm using the technology the way that I want so that it fulfills the needs of my students, I ask the following questions. Number 1, what needs do my students have? So in other words, I look at assessment data and I look at how my students learn and the best way that they're learning, and I determine what is the best technological device or software to use for them. The second question that I ask is, how will using a particular technology fulfill the needs of my students? So in other words, will the technology that I choose to integrate in my classroom fill in the gaps that are missing for my students? And will it help them learn what it is they need to learn for the year and meet all of the standards? The third question I ask is, will the use of technology help my students develop higher level thinking skills? Since Read 180 is a Tier 3 intervention, my students are far below grade level in reading. So not only is it important for me to help my students fulfill the gaps that they are missing to become better readers, but also create the environment so that they are able to transition back into their general ed classroom. In other words, what that means is not only do my students need to fulfill the gaps that they were behind in reading, but they also need to be able to think and understand text at grade level at a deep level. And so we need to practice those skills in order for them to make a smooth transition back to their classroom. And technology is one of the ways that I like to use to help them do that. Lastly, I also ask, will the use of this technology extend the learning beyond my classroom? So my philosophy is that learning is not just about what is in the textbook or what the teacher gives, but also what the student brings. And so how their experience outside of the classroom and what all the tools that they come with to me, how am I able to get them to use that to their advantage and extend their learning when they're not with me? So what can I provide to them that they are able to use at home or in the outside world in order to extend their thinking and ultimately help them become better learners and lifelong learners? So if I can answer yes to all of those questions, then I will further pursue using that technology. So the technology I use most in my room is Haiku, the Read 180 software program, which is divided into 2 programs. Read 180, which is for students that are reading at a higher level that need comprehension help, and System 44 for students that are reading at a lower level and need more help with decoding. Accelerated Reader is not only used in my classroom, but site-wide. Epic, which I will discuss further, is a tool which students can use to read digital material. Read Theory and Newsela is also used in my classroom. So everything that you see on this side of my screen, they're really to help my readers develop good reading habits. As you will see, the other technology that I use in my room, the Google Fluency Tutor, ReadWorks, Spelling Vocabulary City, are other tools that I use to help support the reading, and it also gives me feedback on how they're doing. Lastly, I use KidBlog and Storybird, which is the new technology we'll be using in my classroom, as writing tools. So it helps give my students daily practice in writing. So first, I'd like to take a look at my Haiku page so that you're able to see what that looked like. So this is my Haiku page. When the students log in the morning, they will come to this page which says, "Welcome to Read 180." So here I have the classroom rules. Even though they're posted in my room, I also put them here because I want the students to be able to be reminded of those things. Also, we talked a lot at the beginning of the year about the growth mindset. So here's a picture of our brain, and as my students learn new skills and strategies that will help them become better readers and writers, we enlarge our brain. So that helps to remind them that we're always learning no matter where we are in life. And here's a video just to kind of remind them of that fact. We also have a calendar so they can know what day it is and what's upcoming. If you look on the left, you'll see my toolbar here. Now this is looking at it from the teacher's point of view, so not everything is published. Those little dots over here that you can see that are in red, those are the things that are published. So, for example, I have on here the Great Kindness Challenge, which we did as a school. Our school also practiced habits of mind, and so if you go here, to our Habits of Mind page, you will see that each month there is a content block which demonstrates to my students what the habit of mind is for that month and what it is we're looking for and how we're going to tie it back to a skill in our room. So for example, if you'll look down here in the month of January, the habit of mind was striving for accuracy. And so as you can see, we tied that skill back to fluency, because even though my students were reading faster, they weren't being accurate, and they need to do both. And so we wanted to use that habit of mind and tie it back to a skill that we were doing in our classroom. After each habit of mind, you'll see there's a video, and it kind of gives the student an idea of what I'm looking for or what they should be looking for, and some food for thought. It's also a great way to create a visual for my ELD learners who might not necessarily be able to read or comprehend all of the wording, but now they have a visual to go along with what we're discussing in class. So it helps in both situations. And anytime I'm able to stick a YouTube video on for my students, especially for my ELD students, so that they can visually see concepts and skills, the better for them. So I just want to go back over here and back to my toolbar, and as you'll see on the side here, I have a homework page so they can go see their homework. And then on the side here, each workshop that we are working on, the students will have access. So for example, we are on workshop number 8. And so here, my students will be able to go on workshop number 8. And at the top is a link to our Read 180 software, so they're able to go on and view the software. And then what we are learning, the thematic unit, compare and contrast. And then I'll put some kind of picture, and right now we're studying about food. So that's a little bit of a visual for my, again, ELD learners so they can understand. Also the unit vocabulary, and then any other software that we're using. So for example, we're moving into narrative writing, and we will be using Storybird for the narrative writing. So students can come here, click on the link, and then go to Storybird. Next, I would like to take you to Epic. And Epic is one of those tools that I love because it's a digital platform for students to read books. And so here on Epic, when the students log in, they will see their avatar. And once they pick their avatar, they're able to go on and to read. So I love Epic, and if the students log in, so students are allowed to go on Epic and read books. It is totally free to educators. I'm currently signed in as me, but if I wanted to switch users, then I could simply go in here and pick one of my students. So we're going to pick Brian, and now he can come down here because he's set his preferences, and he can choose the books that he likes to read. So there's all kinds of things for him to choose from, and then the software aggregates what he has put in as things that he likes to read. and they give him choices from those books. It's great because for my struggling readers, what really makes this powerful for them is they can choose books on topics that they like to read at their own level. And so as the teacher, if I can just get this switched out here, I am able to go in and see what my students are reading. And so that is a great option for me as the instructor. So I can browse and search and look at what it is my students are reading. And then it gives me, as I scroll through here, the latest things that have been added to the EPIC library. So this is a great tool, especially for struggling readers, and it's free to all educators. So I love it. I think it's wonderful. Another thing that I use in my room a lot to support reading is a website called readtheory.org. And readtheory.org is very powerful. It's tied to the standards. So this is one of the ways that I can help my students be able to really make sure that as they're reading, they are also meeting the Common Core standards. So the rigor, the level of rigor that is applied using this is wonderful. So as this gets loaded up, the way that this works is when students come onto this website, they will go in and they will take a entrance exam. And so what happens is they take that entrance exam. I can come down here and I can look, let's go look at the progress here that my students have made. So you can see here that they took the pretest. And so if you highlight a particular student, you'll see that they tested in 3rd grade or they tested in 2nd grade. So it lets me know where they're at. As we scroll down, it also gives me their Lexile level. So this particular student had a 740 Lexile level. This particular student had a 390 Lexile level. And then students, as they're reading and taking quizzes, can earn points. So this lets me know what they're doing in terms of the points that they earned. And here, post-quiz, I can see the growth of my students. For example, this particular student is an ELD student who's probably a CELT level 1. So she's still learning a lot of English, but as you can see, it's giving her reading at her own level. And so she's had some growth, which is great. So again, we will see the post-Lexile level. So here's where we started and here's where we're working towards. So it's great because here's post-test. As you can see, we've already had some growth for some of my students. And so the neat thing about this is that I'm able to go in and see how they're reading and what grade level they're on. And then this will give me how they have mastered the particular standards in English language art. And so what makes this tool in particular very powerful is that if I pick a particular student, and let me see, let's just pick someone randomly. He's just started, so let's pick this student. So if I pick a particular student, you can see that pretest, he started in grade 1 at a Lexile level 40. Okay, now he's in the 3rd grade, first grade, 3rd month, almost 4th month. So he has made some growth. But what is so great about this product is that I can go on and see what quizzes they've took, what the Lexile level was, and then how they did on it. And the student also sees this information. So this makes it a very powerful tool because now they can see what they answered correctly and what they didn't answer correctly. For this particular story, he got 100%. Now, if he had gotten one of these wrong, what it does is when he clicks on the answer, it will explain why his choice was not a good choice. And so the students are always asked to go in and to look at that. And so it makes it very powerful because we can sit down at the end of the week when we're conferencing and we can talk about what they've done on here, what they've gotten right and what they've missed and why they've missed it, and maybe what strategies they should be using in order to help them do better on this assessment. So it's a very powerful tool. The other tools that I use are mostly for me. So for accelerated reader, I run contests in my room. And so I will take the students and I will look to see how many words they've read in a week. And at this level in Read 180, it really is about how many words the kids are reading. That will be so impactful to their learning. So the nice thing about EPIC is many of the books in EPIC are AR books, so they're able to read books at their level and then go take an AR quiz. There are also some low-level quizzes in EPICs, but I really encourage them to use Accelerated Reader. So when we go into Accelerated Reader, I log in and I will look at some reporting and see how they're doing. The other thing that is so important for AR is that I can go in and I can get reporting. So when they take the STAR test really is about how they're growing. And so since Read 180 students aren't with me, I go in their teachers report and then I'm able to go in and view. And so I can see what level of growth they've been making. And the reason why this is helpful is because in Read 180, we only test the student's Lexile level once a trimester. And so if I really want to try to understand, is my instruction working? Are my students growing? I can come to AR, and if I'm doing what's best for the students, and if I'm helping them fill in the gap, then I should see some growth. So here I can go in and I can look and see how they're growing. So I would go in and find my students in this report, and I would see, had their Lexile improved, or if not, had their Lexile gone down. And so those are some of the things that I want to look at to make sure that I'm understanding how I can improve my instructional practices. The other thing that I like to use and I think is very helpful is ReadWorks. So oftentimes in my classroom, I differentiate my instruction, and what I will do is I will take a ReadWorks article for kids at a level. So if I have, for example, a student at a 310 Lexile level, I may pick this article. And what I do is I post it then on Haiku for them to read. I might use it as a fluency reading. I may use it as a comprehension. With ReadWorks, you can also pick passages by skill. And so that is very helpful. So I'll pick this passage. It'll be a small reading, and it'll have some questions. It'll also have some vocabulary, paired text. So all of that is really good, and it'll help the students with their reading. So as you can see here, this is an article about the sun, and it's giving the student the article at their correct Lexile level, and then as they read that article, it would ask them the appropriate questions based on what they've read. And so I can post this, I can do this as a fluency reading, or I can do this as a comprehension reading, and it gives me a great deal of detail and see where my students are at. So this is a great site, and I use it quite often. Another site that I use to support reading is Newsela, and this again is a tremendous website. I love it. The kids love it. So I will assign an article for them to go read on Newsela, or again I might post this or print this for their homework. So for example, if we were going to read this science article, I would click on the article here, and then it would take me to the article. And the nice thing about it again is because I differentiate my instruction and because I change the Lexile level for all of my students so it will reach where they're at, this is another great site. So for my higher readers that are reading at a 690 Lexile level or maybe a little bit below, I would print and post this article at that level. But as you can see, if I have students that are reading at a slightly lower level, and then I'm able to give them the same content but at their reading level. So this is great when we do whole group comprehension lessons, and I'm able to extend their thinking because I want to expose them to some of the content and standards of the Common Core while we're improving their reading skills. So now I can give this, and we can pair weaker readers with higher readers, and again the class is given the same content but it's at the correct Lexile level. So I really enjoy this site. I use it quite a bit for my students, and it's very helpful. The other website that I use a lot is Spelling and Vocabulary City. I do a word study in my room, and so I try to tie spelling patterns, especially for my lower readers, with the reading. So I try to pair those together. And then I also like to do this for vocabulary. And so what happens is I have all of these word lists that I have downloaded based on a spelling inventory and a reading inventory that I gave my students, and then we work through different word patterns. So as you can see, here's my home page, and I'll go in here, and I've just assigned my students a new list, and so they'll go in and do that. The nice thing is, when students log in, for them, they get to play games with the spelling words. They can take tests, they can have flashcards. For the vocabulary, it goes through a vocabulary routine similar to what we do in Read 180. So I like using this site. It's a way to make spelling and vocabulary instruction fun for the students, and I know this is something that they can easily do at home because it has some game-like features which they enjoy. For the writing, especially for readers that are struggling, writing is an important element, and it's very difficult for struggling readers to be good writers. So one of the things that I decided to do was to have my students create a blog. And so for opinion writing, this is what we use. We use KidBlog, and the students were able to go and download pictures, and then they had to write their opinion about a particular thing, or they had to give me some informational writing about what they were doing. So again, this was a great site. You can see all my students here, and they had many different blogs that they were able to use. The last piece of software that I use quite a bit in my room, or not quite a bit, but I will start using quite a bit in my room, is Storybird. And Storybird is a curation of digital, beautifully drawn artwork by different artists, and they're used as story starters. And so, as you can see, my class will come in here, and they use my class code to join my class, and then they go here, and then they're able to pick and choose pictures, and they can go in and they can create beautiful stories. The nice thing about this is that it really engages the student in their imagination, and this is great for narrative writing. They can choose the pictures, they can decide what type of story they are, they aren't encumbered. They can write a poem, which is what they're going to be trying in the next couple of days. Then I'm going to have them write a short picture book, which we will share. And then towards the end, I'm going to have them write a small chapter book. And essentially, they're going to be able to pick a photo or a piece of artwork and write on whatever they want. So this is great if this is something that I wanted to do and I wanted to create and use one of these pictures. It's very simple for the student to go in and to pick what they want and then to write a story about it. And so these are some of the things that I'm using to help students think outside the box and really extend the learning. This is something that they can log in and do at home. They can easily just use their imagination and let it take them away. In particular, my students like to draw quite a bit. And so this will really help them get into that mode of wanting to build and use a story. So here's the picture, and then I can go in and I can tell them what kind of artwork I want to use this artwork, and then I want to make a picture book. And so once I tell it that's what I want it to do, and then it goes in, and it's very intuitive for my students. I haven't had to really teach them how to use the software. I've just let them go in and play, and as long as they're working and being productive, you know, we've talked about this. The next step that we'll go into is really creating like a Storybird type element for them, and so they're able to do this quite successfully. And so as you can see, here's my picture, and then I just simply go in here and type something here. The helicopter stole a piece of cheese. And you know, the kids can just move at their own pace, but at the end they can create a beautifully designed picture book or short story or really a short chapter book, and this really will help get them in the mood for writing. And the great thing is I can go in as a teacher and edit it, and I can make assignments for them. So I can give them a particular topic or a piece of artwork in which they can write. So I also use this for quick writes as well. The last piece of software that I use in my room that I just wanted to share with you is the Literacy Shed. This is a great resource and tool. I love it. It is a digital story starter for the students. So they have different sheds that you can go into. So you can see there's the fantasy shed. There's other kinds of sheds you go in, and they will either have photographs or they will have videos made by filmmakers. And so the students either watch the video or they look at the photograph, and then usually this is how I start with some bell work for them, and they come in and this will be up, and it gives them a chance to do a quick 10-minute quick write. Very easy, very simple, and again, it's helping them get in the practice and hopefully helping them to extend their thinking and learning. So those are just a few of the pieces of software that I use in my classroom and how I use them in my classroom. I hope that my students get a lot out of it. I think they get a lot out of it because they're constantly on it, and they're always asking, when are we going to be able to create another blog, or when are we going to be able to write another story? Or I was really interested in that science reading that you gave us. When are you going to give us something similar? And so it's great because it's really, without them knowing it, they are learning a lot. And so I just think that technology is so important, especially if you're able to integrate it in a very thoughtful and purposeful way. And so each one of these tools, I do it to help fulfill a gap and to help students be able to practice and continue to practice skills so that they not only begin to catch up to where their peers are, but they start to develop a level of success that will help them gain mastery of not only being able to read here and read 180, but also in their regular classroom. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed my talk, and until next time, thank you.